Would you mind introducing yourself, your name, and what you do?
Sure, I'm Blake. I'm the lead environment artist at Grinding Games.
And I'm Fabian. I'm also an environment artist at Grinding Games.
What does an environmental artist actually do here?
Basically, we make dungeons. Like at the end of the day, make the walls, make the floors, make the barrels and crates. That's generally kind of the thing when you boil it down.
So you're flushing out a template you're given?
Yeah, so we are usually given a grey box to work with that has just basic walls and doors and all that sort of stuff, and then we put it all together with final art. There'll usually be like a concept, or sometimes it's just like straight from our heads. But usually there is at least a mood board to get the idea of how this area should vaguely kind of look. And then it's really, in the end, kind of up to us to kind of just like put it all together, piece it all together, work with Jonathan and the level designers on how the thing should look. We have a lot of freedom, basically, to kind of almost not quite do what we want, but within the bounds of Path of Exile. We have a lot of freedom, though, I think.
Yeah. Quite a lot of freedom, actually. Like, it's pretty chill. We'll get, like Blake was saying, we'll get like a mood board or a kind of overlay concept of something, and then we kind of just go from there. We might, like, whoever's working on the area might find their own reference and go from there. The nice thing is just like going and talking to Jonathan, like so casually, just go and see Jonathan. Hey, do you like this? Is this going right? And he'll be like, yep, no, continue.
I noticed that about the workplace. Like, everyone is just very quick to just get up and go talk to another department or just get right in there. Is that pretty often here? It's
been, I mean, that's a very common thing now. When I first joined, it felt a little more separate. I would get stuff from Greybox, and I would
we didn't talk to level design as much as we do now.
Yeah, I wouldn't very often talk to level design, but basically as soon as we started collaborating a lot more with level design, I feel like the quality of the work just increased like so much. You're not like, you don't feel like you're working in a bubble and you're just sort of guessing at like, oh, what this department wants or what that department wants. You actually just get up and go and talk to them, and then it just benefits everyone, no matter what, to go and communicate with people.
Do you find them, because of you guys are synergizing so much, that you are often influencing things like outside of normally your job? So let's say Steven is doing the map design, he brings to you, but you start piecing together elements and you come up with a concept or something that might change the map layout typically?
Yeah, that happens a lot for me, like working on maps. Like just recently I've moved more into working on in-game map content and stuff like that, and just like I might get an idea or a map that's already kind of laid out from level design, but then I'll go through and kind of almost re-art direct it a little bit, just kind of figure it out a bit more from an environment side, and then if I have a cool idea or they have a cool idea, we literally just collaborate and we just get it in. It's that simple, really. Yeah.
I have found sometimes where I will talk to Joey or somebody else in another department about mechanics, well, not so much mechanics, but like the art that these mechanics are going to be using, and it might be like a new league thing or something, like the crystal stuff on the Atlas.
Yep.
That's a good example where the like game mechanic was like all sorted out, and I just had a talk with like Tori, one of the designers, about how this thing should look, and I was like, okay, I'll come up with a few ideas. I'll make a mood board, and I sent it off, and I talked to Joey about it. And I was like, okay, maybe we'll go do something like this. And then a few days later, Mark comes up to me and it's just like, so this is what we're doing with these things, and it's like he just sends me my mood board back to me. So I was like, oh, cool. I guess I influenced that quite a bit. Yeah.
Is there any type of environment that you find typically difficult, like out of the other ones, that like you come to a certain type of mood or theme, you're like, oh no, it's this one again?
Cities, right?
Cities are like, I don't know, near impossible in Path of Exile, just because of how procedural our game is. Trying to get like a handcrafted city like The Witcher or other like RPGs where they handcraft everything, really hard for us. Like Exile in Act 3 was really our first like strong attempt at trying to do a city. Kind of gets there, but it still feels like it's missing some elements.
It was a real Yeah, it was a real like discovery process, I think, because we kind of went into it thinking we had concept for it, we had reference for it, we did everything that we would normally do for an area, and we're like, great, we've got this sorted. Like made the art, did the level layout and everything. We're like, but this still doesn't feel like quite right. There's something missing here, and we really had to do like a almost like a deep dive on, okay, what makes a city feel like a city?
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of little things. There's a lot of like storytelling-ish elements. Like you got the front of shop faces or something like that, but then you can't have a city that's just all shop faces. That feels weird, and it did. And then we started adding in these back alleys. Like, oh, this is actually like feeling a little bit better now. And then we started adding park areas. Like, oh, this is feeling a bit better. So it was just trying to like figure out exactly what makes a city feel lived in and feel like a proper city that has evolved over its like lifespan.
It's got to be hard to fit in concepts like a back alley when you're not the one creating the layout of the map.
Yeah, it is. Like our concepts that we have tend to be either like very specific assets or kind of very broad. I think of them more as like a vibe, almost like an extended mood board, where it's like, okay, we've got a mood board, which is just a load of references in the sort of vibe that we want, but the concepts are a little more drilled down on that with the sort of geometry that we want. But ultimately, it will probably not look like exactly like that in game because of the level layout. Like that just dictates. I mean, gameplay and like how the player flows through the area, that dictates a lot of what the area will look like, and that might not be what was originally concepted. Like we have found that sometimes the original concept we've had for an area when the player actually gets in there, it doesn't feel as good as we like first kind of like expected it to.
Feel is a good word. Like some things you really just have to feel them out. Like,
yeah,
it's not even about like playing it in gameplay. It's really about like just the whole thing as a whole, the visuals, the like level design, layout, the small gameplay sections and stuff like that. And to make a city, it's just like, I don't know, it's really hard. It's really hard.
Some tools you can use to get, let's say you're trying to get a certain feeling from a player, fear, hope. Like what are some tools you have at your disposal to be able to get those feelings into the game?
That's a good question.
For us, a lot of our like mood, I think, comes a lot from lighting and colors. Breach is a good example. It's like when a breach spawns in an area and you go inside the breach, the whole like purple effect and the like desaturation, it kind of gives you the feel of hopelessness. A lot of Act 1 is quite dark and gothic and dreary, so it gives you that same kind of feel, and then you get into Act 2 and it's really like bright and kind of a bit more happy toned, I guess. At least for environment art, it feels like color and lighting would be the main thing that really gets the feel across, and then from there to be like in terms of the like actual art is like just setting that up to fit with it. Like you've got the two different versions of Exile. You've got the past version, which is all like the happy and everything's like alive and it's a breathing city, and then you've got the sunken city version, which is just like it's been under the lake for so long and it's just miserable. And all the monsters fit that too. I
think like what you're saying about lighting, Sunken City is a really great example because all through, but this also gets back to what I was saying with sometimes the concept doesn't exactly work out, but the concepts for it were all very dark, muddy, brown on brown on brown, like, and individually a single screenshot, hey, this looks great, but you go play it and you're like, I can't tell where I'm going, like I just it didn't feel very good. It also, because it was very dark, like none of the real details kind of popped out, so it just felt kind of blank. And we were throwing lots of things into it to try to like add interest to it and things like that. But like we were kind of, I would say, a little bit floundering for a while. And we were meeting with Jonathan. We were sitting there going like, well, why doesn't this feel good? And Jonathan, after a few weeks of this, Jonathan was like, well, let's just try a lighting change. And he just, instead of it was very dark, he just cranked it to super bright, which is how it is now. And instantly all the greens popped, like all the colors just like played off each other really well. And we're like, oh, I mean, that's it, but that is like not that is not what anyone had in mind. It was just once we actually got it in game and we're running through it, we realized something's not working, and just making a big swing in another direction sometimes is what you need.
Yep, for sure.
Can it be hard to make realistic, immersive environments when you're working with areas that don't exist? They're not real.
Yes, I think it can. It can.
Breach was a hard one.
Yeah,
Breach City was really hard.
Yeah.
Because there's no real world reference of that, and the whole thing for us was like incorporating hands and everything, because Breach
Yeah.
is all about hands. So you'll see like around the bridges there's like things reaching up, and all the ground is like made of hands, and we didn't really have like we went through a few different concept phases of that to really like nail it and get it
Yeah.
locked down. It was a tough one.
Yeah,
And that's just when it's not got something actually real, like that you can pull reference from. You've really got to try and like dig for weird reference. And lots of us were looking at like weird reference of like hand trees and stuff like that, and like strange buildings and kind of almost like steampunk pipes and how they interact with stuff, and trying to incorporate a little bit of elements of that with the like the hand stuff going on.
Aren't hands notoriously hard to work with?
Yep, they're pretty annoying. For us, it's okay because we get like just a rig of like a single hand that we got, and we
Sure.
just literally
Yeah.
just pose it around things, or to get like a
Yeah.
whole thing and just like wrap it around something.
But even then, it is a slow process because we have a couple of like environment hand models, and those are rigged, and it's like that's fine. You pose it, but then okay, you got to go on and make another thing that like you've got to pose something else again, and you got to pose something else again. So it's a little more tedious than just putting a plant down, rotate another plant, duplicate it. Suddenly you've got a forest. Here it's like you've got to manipulate every kind of like part to make interesting shapes with the hand. So it can get a little bit tedious, but I think the final result was like really cool. Like when I saw the artist that was working on it, when they started getting in all that hand stuff, it was just like, holy heck, this is actually like a really cool like looking area. And like you were saying with the city part, that was a real challenge because, like you were saying, there's not really real architecture to kind of in real life to kind of go off. So we did go through a lot of concepts, and sometimes with areas we might not even need concepts because the architecture exists in real life, and we just see a reference and go, that's it, we know exactly what we're doing, boom, that's it. But with this, it was like it took quite a few attempts at concept to kind of get that, yep, that's it, kind of feel. So yeah, it's like there's definitely times when it can be tricky. Yeah.
Are you guys the people that are responsible for when you're handed Doriani, you got the guy who gets cut in half as like kind of the flavor object?
That was
the story there.
That was actually Jonathan.
Really?
Because we had these cut in half cadavers, and I hated them because like they just didn't look like we had them in the walls and we had them on tables, and I was like, this just doesn't look good. Like I just didn't think it looked good, and I was on the verge of getting rid of them, and in one of the meetings of the area, Jonathan said, well, why don't we just like have a guy that you click on it and it cuts in half and he peels forward like that. And I was like, oh my god, that's actually a great idea. And on top of that, we can make it a chest, so it's like you're murdering this poor guy to loot a battle axe or whatever. And then we could get really gross with like the peeling effect and some guts coming out, and it was again, just a thing of like, I guess, talking to Jonathan, and it's like, this isn't working, and then he just takes a swing at it, and it's like, oh, that's a great idea, and then it becomes this weird, iconic thing. And also that really kind of informed upon the vibe of the area, because we really wanted like a body horror feel of that. So we actually, for that area, I don't think we, for those body horror elements, those like guys being worked on and turned into robots and stuff, I don't think we had any actual concept for that.
It was all just 80s body horror movies and stuff.
Yeah, it was just 80s body horror stuff, and
like Borgs and things like that.
Yeah, it was great to work on. It was so much fun. Yeah, but that's a time when it's like, oh, everyone kind of is on board. Everyone almost from the start knows what this area is going to feel like, and so it all comes together like really well and smoothly.
Probably the hardest thing there was trying to like not make it too sci-fi techy, but just Val tech enough that it's got some weird stuff. So that's when we leaned into like the white lights to make it feel like really cold. Just like no nothing happy there at all. It's all just like misery, but and lightning and stuff like that to kind of power everything. So yeah, it was all just fully around that and just the body
PoE
horror.
2 and ARPG games in general tend to be, kind of darker and gritty, etc. Can it be hard to work with making sure the players have visibility in the map while also maintaining that darkness?
Absolutely. Well, what I was saying with the Sunken City, visibility was also a problem there. And that wasn't just, I mean, in the end, it was a big lighting factor, but it was also the darkness, and then it was very like brown on brown on brown that like is just very unreadable.
It also had like red light at one point. It was like dark and kind of like reddish pink light.
Yeah.
And we got rid of that, and that's when it went to like a more like brighter tone as well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't helping on top of all the browns and stuff.
It's often like it's not really like an afterthought, but it is definitely something that we initially don't worry about. The initial goal is to like get an area looking awesome, and then we figure out the sort of walkability signal and visual and like clarity along the way. So there was well, actually, I can't talk about that. But yeah, there's plenty of areas where we initially started off with, like I said, brown on brown kind of thing, and we've realized, okay, we actually have to adjust the color of the floor here to make it clearly different to the non-walkable parts, and even keeping within those same color ranges, just like brightening the ground or dark or something like that, goes a long way to make things like visible.
How about keeping variety? I mean, you take a lot of campaign maps and turn them into in-game maps. How do you manage to make the maps look different while also being the same?
Well, that's a lot of your work. You'll become the map guy now.
That is a lot of my work now. I'm always thinking about in-game and how, like, I'm always looking at our tile sets and what can I take from one and make it feel like it's something different. So with the new maps that'll be coming in the next patch, hopefully people will enjoy that. But the main thing I look at is I just try to pick probably one element of a whole tile set and try to accentuate that one element, or take smaller sections of an area that's in campaign and try to just use that small section to make the whole entire map. And that pretty much gives like an entirely different feel, plus materials and color swaps and stuff on top of that.
Is there anything you can think of that is like in the campaign and the in-game map is like is basically using the same art but retextured or whatever in such a different way that you'd actually think it's like completely different, like players wouldn't recognize it?
That happened to me when you were showing me that one map.
Yeah, there is one map that's coming, which I can't talk about.
We can't talk about.
But it is using a tile set that's already in campaign. That if people pay attention to, they'll know what it is. But I've pretty much cut out 90% of the elements.
Yeah.
And just like removed almost everything except for like this one base visual that I really wanted for the area. There are other maps like that, and one thing I really like to do is just like mash two different tile sets together in a way to make it feel organic, and there's more maps like that coming in 0.3 as well. So
there was some things where the canopy area in Act 1 is a lot of those elements were used in the Carver Bog area.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of the same, it basically starting from the same base tiles, but changing the art up a little bit. So instead of on stilts, it's like in water. And that area, because of that area came together super quick. Like it was literally just one artist working on it for like a few weeks, and it was suddenly like completely done just because he had that canopy one to base it off. So we do stuff like that. Yeah, we do stuff like that all the time.
The Vault of Kamasa in Act 3, that's not the exact same situation, but that was originally using very similar tiles to the Mechanarium.
Okay.
And then we realized something wasn't quite working here, so I kept the same tile shape and proportions, but I changed the whole visual to be more brutalist, and just going back and forth with Jonathan over and over again until we got a visual that he was happy with. That took some time, but that basically, to get to the final version of that tile set from what it really was almost like a week or two work. But now we've got a whole brand new tile set that still follows something similar to the Mechanarium's shapes. So the main goal there was like change the visual, but try not to give too much overhead to level design to like have to redo all the walking area and everything.
Yeah, a lot of Trial of Sekima as well as like just clever reuse of tile sets. Like I think it's the third level is pretty much just the standard Keth tile set, but mostly instead of walking on where you would normally walk in Keth on the floor, you're walking in the abyss sections of the abyss where the sand is. So just a simple switch like that, suddenly it feels like a different area.
What's harder to make, boss arenas or the map leading up to them?
Boss arenas, they're both challenging in different ways.
Yeah, they are. Boss arenas tend to be challenging in the way that, well, we don't always have a concept for one. So it comes down to talking to Mark, figuring out what the boss is, seeing if the boss has any new mechanics, and then it's just like make a cool arena. And the 03 map that you didn't recognize the other day, that's a perfect example. The boss that's there, I've just redesigned that whole arena just based on like one idea to fit that boss perfectly. In terms of tile sets though, man, they can be quick and they can be slow.
Yeah, I know. It honestly depends. There's often times where we think, oh yeah, we know what we're doing here. We barely probably even need concept, and then that tile set turns out to be the one that's like, no matter what, it's just like not working, and it takes the longest to like figure out. Generally, for boss arenas, there's more of a structured process of because they are heavily mechanics driven. We need to sort of nail down the actual boss mechanics, or at least get a vague idea from the designers what the boss mechanics are, because that informs a lot of what the arena is and what it can and cannot be. A whole tile set, that can be just constantly changing based on vibes, really. Yeah.
I guess Act 1 Mana is kind of a good example. We had the tile set done relatively quickly, but the boss arena, it went through multiple iterations.
Yeah, that's a good point, yeah.
Its original thing was really ugly, and then we had to the whole thing was like Geonor's gone mad and he's dug a hole straight through his mana to the like Esmite stuff underneath. But then we had to figure out how do we like portray that and show that, and then we made the whole the hole that goes all the way down, you can see him down there. But then we had to try and figure out what's actually under the mana. Is he digging straight into dirt through the stone ground? What's he doing under there? And then we just came with the idea that it's almost like a cave that he's dug down into, and there's a whole lot of collapsed stone and everything, and right in the center you see the big sigil, and that's kind of what he was looking for. That went through so many iterations.
Yeah, that one did. I honestly think it's almost case by case. It's sometimes the areas are easier than the boss arena, and sometimes it's the other way around. Fabian was just saying, the mana came together super quick, but the boss arena took forever. And other times it's the boss arena's just sorted, but there's something wrong with where you got to figure out why the area's not vibing, kind of thing, and that can be a longer process than you expect. So really it's case by case. Yeah.
Speaking of looking for things, how often are you guys slipping in Easter eggs?
Oh, not as much as I want. I wish we could get in more. There is an Easter egg currently in the game in one of the maps that no one's found yet.
Is that a hint in one of the maps?
One of the maps. It's one of the maps,
not
one of the
maps.
campaign areas. And it's live. It's been live since beta. And I check Reddit every once in a while to see if anybody's found it. Nobody's found it yet.
Yeah.
PoE 1, I got a Dark Souls Easter egg in. It was a bonfire, which ended up getting turned into a hideout doodad anyway. So it's not really much of a. It was even called Ashen, bonfire. So it was very kind of hinting. That ended up not being as much of an Easter egg.
There's ones in the Settlers of Kalgur, the town there, that's live in PoE 1.
Has people found that one yet?
Oh yeah,
yeah. There's a couple.
Yeah, James's one.
There's James's one. There's one of the picture of James when he was a little boy.
Yeah.
And it's in one of the places. There's some more inside joke ones that are in that area as well. There's a Counter-Strike one that's in there, Counter-Strike reference in that town. So there are small things. But, due to how quick we work, we don't always have time to get those cool little things in.
I do feel around now is the time where I'm feeling more we've got more breathing room to actually put Easter eggs in. Whereas like
There is one coming.
Is there?
Yep. The thing Glenn made, but you can't talk about it.
Oh yes, no, there
But
is.
there is one coming.
The MTX.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's an MTX coming that will have an Easter egg in it.
Okay.
So be on the lookout, I suppose. But yeah, now I feel like we have a little more breathing room as we're kind of. I mean, we're not in the home stretch, but like a lot of the hectic work for just getting areas done are done. So we do have a little bit more room to put in little things here and there. But yeah, in the past we were just like concentrating so much on getting areas finished and looking good and getting things ready for ExileCon and then for beta. It felt wrong to try to justify the time to put in Easter eggs when we had a lot of work to actually get done.
A lot of stuff for me, like Easter egg wise, I like to just give throwbacks to PoE 1 stuff. So there's some stuff coming from PoE 1 that I've basically reimagined in PoE 2, and people may or may not notice it, but yeah, I like throwing back to PoE 1. Like, I've been playing for 10 plus years, so it's part of my life, huge part of my life.
We could talk about the Tane Mahuta tree that I wanted to get in. There's this famous tree in New Zealand, Tane Mahuta, and I was like, this is a New Zealand iconic like tree, and I was asking people, oh, we'll get this in. Some New Zealanders didn't know what this tree was, and I thought, well, actually, maybe it's just me because I used to live quite close to it. Maybe it was just in my little area. Was this famous thing?
Yeah, I didn't know it.
Yeah, so
we got it made and Blake showed me it. I'm like, it looks like a regular tree. I didn't even get the reference at all.
I was so proud showing off this. Oh, look at this like iconic New Zealand thing, and everyone's like, what is a tree? What? So sometimes Easter eggs don't work out.
How often does that happen? You create something you're really proud about, you can't wait to see a reaction from somebody, and then no one notices.
That happens.
Yeah, that does happen.
It happens.
There's a story I told you yesterday about the aqueducts where when we were working on that, me and a VFX artist worked probably for a week easily, making this cool waterfall where part of the aqueduct has fallen away. You can see down to all the different layers, and there's slime and water pouring through that. I was super proud of it, and I was like, I cannot wait for players to see this. And when it released, I was watching a streamer, and I was like, oh, he's on the aqueduct. I'll see what his reaction is. And he's running along, and I could see he was going down one of these side passages where this waterfall was. He had his map on, so he then saw on the map that it was a dead end. And then just turned around and said, oh, dead end, and just walked off in the other direction before even getting on screen to see it. And I was like, oh, that's such a bummer. But then there's other times where I think in that same... it was when Act 5 was released. I spent a lot of time doing little displays in the reliquary. I watched, I think it was Ziggy D, who went through and was stopping and zooming in on every little display that I'd done, and was like, oh man, that's great. That's just one person noticing it was worth the effort.
Yeah, I think there's one live in PoE 2 now where you go to the Burning Monolith and you put the keys in from your citadels, and when I made that area, it was like, we're gonna do this cool thing where you put the keys in the door and people are gonna think the door opens, but then the lift takes you down. And I was really just waiting for a streamer to be like, oh my god, it's crazy, but no one did. Everyone was just deadpan. So
it seems like you guys have quite a bit of creative freedom with that. You mentioned it earlier, and with that example, it's that's a big thing. It goes down and step through a door. That's the pinnacle boss.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was all. Mark basically gave us complete free reign on that. His only mandate was it has to be awesome. That was it. That was what he said. And you have to wow the players, and it has to be something. It has to be something completely out of left field that the players were not expecting and different from everything else in the game. So we just we tried to add these things where like you subvert the player's kind of expectations. So like Fabian was saying, those sockets, those things that you socket into the wall, we made that wall kind of look like a door. So your expectation is, oh, this door's going to open, I'm going to go through. And then when the plants all burn away and the elevator goes down, it's like, oh, this is a surprise. And then suddenly you're above this maze and you're like, oh my God, what is this thing? And like the boss is there and you're like, what the hell is this? This is like the craziest, like this is related to nothing I've ever seen. But yeah, we had basically free reign to do all that, and it was like really great. It was really exciting, really, to just come up with our own. I mean, we're always coming up with our own stuff, but to really just like have very little direction from the bosses about what to do there. It was really great. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it was pretty fun to try and just figure out that whole area.
What are the unique maps? When you guys are creating unique maps, they're unique. They're a little bit extra special. Or is that a topic, a type of map you typically enjoy creating more than the others?
I think the unique maps that are in right now are almost fully level design, actually.
Really?
Like, there may be a couple of like feature tiles or special tiles in a boss arena maybe that we do, but in terms of the whole map, it's usually most of the level design will just like bang it out with stuff that we've got.
I think the unique maps really come down from Mark and Jonathan, right? About like we want the players to like find this weird like event, and it's usually because they've either been playing the game themselves or they've gotten feedback from the players and they're like, we need to introduce some extra little things on the atlas that are unique, and so usually they come down from them and less so from us coming up with like a cool idea, I think.
Yeah. Most of the time.
You mentioned time constraints earlier. How are they handling for you for right now for 0.3 coming out?
Pretty good, I think. Yeah. We have the benefit of kind of being quite early in the pipeline, and so I think we get a handle on things. We get a handle on things a lot sooner than other departments.
Yeah, like our stuff has to be done before most other departments. Like boss arenas are needed for boss mechanics and things like that. They may need tweaks and stuff from us later to try and fit the boss better, but for the most part, we have to pretty much get the area done to 40 to 60% level so that everything's kind of there, generating, working. There's definitely like a hierarchy of importance when working on a new area. So anything that is going to require other departments, we want to get done first. So anything that requires rigging or animation or the boss mechanics or anything like that needs to come first so that they have as much time as possible to work on it, because you do not want a situation where it's like, oh yeah, we've got a month to work on this, but actually so does rigging and so does animation and so does the thing. So if we take a month, they get no time at all, so you have to always be thinking of that. And then things, usually tile sets are basically always just us and level design. So we can spend a lot of, we have a lot of time for that, and it's like not as important to get done early as those other things.
What takes the absolute most amount of time to build?
Oh, I don't know
what does take the most time to build. Well, in terms of the whole game, towns.
Oh yeah, actually good point. Yeah,
towns in terms of everything, towns take the longest to build. Like, how long did Mike spend on Act 1 town?
Yeah.
Probably, back and forth, tweaking, adjusting, layout of things change. Level design wants layout things change. You want to have like a nice flow from the stash to the thing. Act 3 town used to actually be flipped the opposite way, and then we flipped it, and that just felt better.
I mean, that was another example of taking a big swing in another direction, because it just, something was not quite working there.
I was just like, this feels weird. Like, what if I just flip the camera, like 180 the whole camera? And I showed Jonathan, showed Stephen, and they're like, okay, we'll try this, and then kind of just stuck. But sometimes you just like, one rule that at least Blake and myself follow a lot is just go extreme in one direction and then peel back from there. When you're doing stuff and you're just making very tiny incremental changes, you can't always tell what's really changing. Sometimes you really just have to like dial it to 100 and then pull it back slowly from there.
Yeah, there's been a lot of times where it's like someone is working on something and they've been working on it for weeks and it never feels like it's changing. But you look at the logs and it's like they're making multiple changes a day. But those changes are just too small. Heading in the right direction, but just too small. So you go up. I often will go up to them and say, "Just crank it all the way. Just crank it all the way, and we can dial it back." And then suddenly it's exactly where we kind of want it.
Yep.
I think, in terms of like what is the hardest, towns definitely.
Towns
like
are
you
hard.
said. Yeah.
Towns are hard. They take a long time. Like a really long time to build.
And they can be completely. They can be completely redone as well. Like we can think we've got a good idea and be halfway through building it, and then we all just are like, you know what, this isn't actually working, and we basically need to go back to the drawing board.
Act 2 Town took a long time.
Act 2 Town took a
it's
long
like
time.
Moving carts and all
Yeah.
the different pieces that have to make it. It's like
Even Act 1,
crazy.
even Act 1 Town. Act 1 Town had been done for years and years. It had been done, but leading up to beta, even then we had to start moving things around because quests changed and new quests were added and different things had to be added to the town and moved around. So it's like they're never really done. They're just it's just this like continual process of like anytime there might be a quest or even a new new crafting station needs to find a place somewhere in a town, and if there's no room for it, it might need to build a new section for it. So it's just this ongoing evolution, I think.
Yeah, like Act 1 Lion Eyes Watch and PoE 1, when I rebuilt that, on like you got the waypoint, and on the bottom section there was a whole like special thing there. And then when you get to Act 6, you've got the expedition dudes there, so you just have to like entirely delete that thing. Just stuff like that. You got to make space for all the new NPCs that we keep adding. So
yeah, that's something as well, right?
So it's like we build a town with the quest NPCs and everything,
Yeah.
but then you get like League NPCs, and then they become like permanent. And you're like, oh, where are they going now?
we basically have to try to future-proof stuff now, and I feel like the Act 2 town is the worst for that because it's so finite. It's always difficult to add a new thing there, and like who knows in like 5-10 years how many NPCs are going to need to be in your town. Like you could just have a cart just packed full of people.
So with 0.3 coming up, do you find yourself getting more nervous as release comes up, or you find yourself getting more like kind of excited to see what people think?
It's a bit of both. I
Basically,
guess.
what you just described is the exact like thing where yes, we're nervous until it's released, then we're excited. Okay. So it's like just nothing but nerves until it's finally out, and then it's like I can't wait to see what people think.
Yep. Yeah, like I hope that people like some of the new maps that we've got coming. I've really tried to do some interesting things in some of them. Other ones will come a little bit later because they didn't get like done in time for this patch, and those ones should be also cool. But man, I'm just like, I've always got ideas for maps and what we can do there, and how we can adjust them and change them and make them more friendly for like all types of players. The main thing I just don't like in maps is like real skinny hallways and stuff like that. So I want to try and open things up. I've got a bit of a philosophy on that stuff. But yeah, like Blake said, it is nerves all the way up until like the day it comes out. It was like that for ExileCon. Everyone was like,
oh my god, yeah,
like working hard on it, right? ExileCon comes and everyone's like, oh my god, what's the reception be? And then, man, like that very first ExileCon, the very first one we done, that put a tear in my eye. Just everyone roaring in the crowd. It was just like surreal. You don't realize how much the product that we all make here impacts so many people's lives until those kind of moments. So
you really do kind of forget, because you do get so focused on the work and the day to day that those times you get to kind of look up and go, oh my god, look at what we've done and look how people like react to what we've done. It's really great. Yeah.
The worst thing is probably just seeing Reddit. So you stay off Reddit for a few weeks.
Stay off Reddit.
Some people are just too mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's the perfect Indian. So, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk.
Right.
Thank
And
you.
looking forward to 0.3 and see what you cooked up.
It's cool.
Cool.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thanks. Yeah, it was great.